Lita attacks Chyna after the match, completely strips her down. Chyna's just in her bra and panties. Eddie, at first offended, is like, you know what, I kind of like it. and I like that Chyna as well. She's like very upset that like she's been like embarrassed, but then she's like, you know what? I look great.
Yeah.
So take a look, America. It's time for the Backlash. Welcome to Tales from the Attitude Era. Rob here, as always, joined by former writer for WWE and, of course, from Conan, from Metalocalypse. Tommy Blacha's here. Tommy, welcome. And
time for Backlash.
Yes. And sitting in, we're so excited. He is a comedian. He is a pro wrestler himself.
Yeah.
He is a man about town. We have Metal Peter Angelo here.
Thank you. So good to be here.
Pete is training to do pro wrestling as well, so he could perhaps provide some insight.
Training to become a pro wrestler. You said that like an old grandma. He's training to do pro wrestling.
I mean, I guess you've already done pro wrestling. You've done
Technically, I have.
Yeah.
My grandson Pete has done pro wrestling. Come on, get it right, Pasbani.
He's a grappler. And he's done sumo. You did some sumo as well.
Doing some sumo as well. Doing all the weirdest wrestling.
Holy shit, you did sumo. That's amazing.
Yeah, someone said I should have done a sumo gimmick.
You know what's funny? Sumo gimmicks almost, there. When I was there, actually I wasn't there. I went after. There was Akibono versus Big Show.
Yeah.
There was a gimmicked sumo match, and it was bad because sumo is one of those things that. And I remember being there, and I was talking to actually Eric Bischoff. I was there watching it with him, and I was like, that's almost impossible to work. Because when you see sumo, it's so unbelievable because these guys really crash into each other.
Yeah.
But to work it, it's almost like, look, when they work arm wrestling matches, they're comedic. They're like, oh, I'm going over here, you're going here. So I guess, the idea you could do sumo like that, but it just doesn't. It's one of those things that doesn't have an impact. And during that, I was like, and you feel bad because you put both those performers in a bad position. Big Show and Akibono, because they crash into each other, but not with that insane force. When you see sumo, it's like, you know what I mean?
It's like, it's so intense and so quick and so frenetic. If it goes longer, it doesn't look good because it's such intensity.
When you see it happen, you're just like, there's something about like that build up and giving up. It's like someone powerlifting. Like when it's real, it's like, oh my God. But if it's worked, it's like, so it's a hard thing to work. So I would suggest against a sumo gimmick, unless Yokozuna never did a sumo gimmick. He was just by his size or whatever, but the amazement was all the pro wrestling shit he did and not,
Yeah, or they could just be like, oh, he's a sumo wrestler who's, here to wrestle, like here to do this kind of wrestling. Does it transfer over? Yeah,
so like the incredible John Tenta, who was a sumo phenomenon, I know, about him, like just, and the bottom line of him was like, oh, a 380-pound guy who can run and fucking is athletic.
Yep.
You're a nightmare, so...
Well, we are here to talk about Backlash 2000, not sumo. There was no sumo on this event, unfortunately. This happened on April 30th, 2000 at the MCI Center in Washington, D.C. I believe it's now called the Capital One Arena.
Oh.
This pay-per-view was presented by Castrol GTX.
Yes. Yeah. I love those old. Isn't it funny? At the time, you're like, "Who cares?" But now you almost wax nostalgic about. Or at least I do. Oh, there's the Castrol GTX gimmick. Oh, that slam was brought to you by Castrol. That's when that was good sponsorship and the Lugs boot of the week. And like, who gives a shit? But I tear up for it, like because I look at stuff now. Oh. That doesn't make sense. There's too many commercials.
It's not as fun now when the sponsors are like Toyota and Papa John's and like actual brands. It's like, no. Yeah. Where's the charm?
The Cinnamon Toast Crunch Blood Feud match or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to get excited when all the screens have Cinnamon Toast Crunch emojis on them or whatever. Yeah.
It's just something that's not. Yeah, there's not like, maybe it's because the beginning it was like that kind of stupidness of trying to brand stuff, and when it's fresh and when it's something like there's something weirdly quaint and odd about it. Now there's just diminishing returns of like, yeah, whatever.
Slim Jim on the table.
Yeah, just tonnage.
Now, Pete, were you watching wrestling in 2000, or is this the first time you've seen this paper?
Not really. I definitely have like faint memories of the Attitude Era when I was younger, but no, not closely enough that I can be like, yes, I remember this. So this was first time going back to this specifically. I watched plenty of pay-per-views. I watched plenty of pay-per-views, Manias, Rumbles around that time that I would go back to, but this I haven't. I haven't gone back to a lot of some of the smaller pay-per-views.
Yeah,
interesting.
So this will be fun to get your perspective on some of this stuff. For me, I was watching at the time and watching back now. This was a very fun show. I really enjoyed it overall. It was very easy to watch. And I think what made it really work is that everything just happened in the ring. There wasn't that much talking. There wasn't that much delaying. It was just match. And in my opinion, the crowd was really hot. They were really ready for wrestling, and they were following along. Yeah. What did you think, Tommy?
This is one of my favorite pay-per-views of all time, and I don't know, maybe it's interesting to get Pete's take on it, because I get sometimes I feel like, I don't want to say stuck, but I was, I guess everyone always has that, the crowds were hotter then, but I believe they were. And like we said before, one of the reasons the crowds will never be as hot is because of, cell phones. And that's not a boomer take. That's just like everyone is like looking at them and everyone's not as involved. And this show in particular, like, man, these crowds were so hot. They're more like hostages, just really focused on the wrestling. And that seems to be lost. And I'll say some of my favorite eras actually of wrestling are even in the 70s or the 80s, even the era I work. But holy smokes, this crowd was just berserk, and they were like up on every single thing. This pay-per-view I thought worked great, and all the performers and all the timing and and being a behind-the-scenes guys, you're always watching with the potential nervous diarrhea of like, oh, this is going to fuck up. And all the timing of all the matches of everything was just, flawless. And, so let's get into it. So how do you feel, Pete? Did you feel like these crowds are hotter than like the stuff?
Oh, yeah. Today? I mean, for sure. Anytime I go back and watch a pay-per-view from like late 90s, early 2000s, there is just like a different energy to it. Like even when crowds are hot now, there's just something like ravenous. Because it still felt like this special thing back then, even though like they say it's the most popular it ever was, but then it still felt like people were like, oh, this is my thing. This is what I'm into, and I'm going to be like just all about it and really give like everything. Where now you might get people who are like, yeah, I like wrestling and like it's
right,
whatever, kind of more like flippant about it. Like I feel like in this era it was like, no, this is our thing. It's popular, but it has an underground feel to it at the same time. Like this,
I agree. It was like an emergence. It was almost like an analogy is like, if you're a New England Patriots fan and they win one and they're like, oh, and then they're winning another one, you're like, this is happening. This is our team, and this is a dynasty unfolding in front of us. It kind of had that kind of energy.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, certainly.
And everything, even like the from the Raw, everything felt like important. Like everything you were invested in, you were like going into it. Everything felt like big and important, even if it wasn't a main event, even if it wasn't one of the big 4 pay-per-views. Like everyone kind of had that same energy of like, oh, this is like a huge deal.
Yeah, you're right. And it was consistently like that, because often Rob will say like, oh, so this is the WrestleMania. Often when you're on the road working behind the scenes, WrestleMania didn't feel that different from pay-per-views, because you're still in like a different city, arena. Oh, where's WrestleMania this year? In Anaheim, or this is here. And everyone, it was that unique time, that perfect storm of like taking over from WCW, and everyone like it's almost like another analogy, like a football team. It's like, oh, the third stringers are fucking bringing it because this is a championship thing. So everyone was up on their shit. So it kind of like everything was as important as everything else. And even shows like Sunday Night Heat, people didn't feel like, oh, fuck, I'm relegated to this. Everyone was like, hey, I could get mic time there, and that could turn into more mic time or whatever on Raw, which ratings are through the roof. And Sunday Night Heat had 4 ratings, and everyone was like, just like, this is, you're right, that energy. Even the performers, everyone felt like, yeah, this is happening. And I think even the veterans knew, like, hey, wrestling's cyclical. Enjoy it while it lasts. Yeah. Again, like a sports analogy, like, yeah, this team is hot. This lineup is hot. There's some Hall of Famers. Enjoy it while it lasts because it goes away. So, yeah, interesting.
So we kick things off. We have a great recap of everything. For Pete, like, you would be the perfect one to ask, like, I feel like with these recaps, you were perfectly caught up on what the story of every match was, right? Because I feel like they did one for almost all the big matches.
Yeah. I think everyone in these matches, too, were, like, such good workers, and the matches were such good quality that, like, even without the recap, like, they just tell a good story in the ring.
Right.
Yeah.
And these are all guys that I'm, like, fan. Like, it's so funny to kind of, like, having it go and how much this whole card just, like, oh wow, like you almost forgot like what a fan you are of them. We watch so much new wrestling, but these so many of them are such like big deals. Like, I mean, you kick off with like Edge and Christian, you're like, oh my god, Edge and Christian, like,
right,
heyday. You just make
emerging.
Yeah.
Right, they're coming up still. So we kick things off. We see the set. This is one of the most iconic sets of the Attitude Era. You have the truss in the shape of hooks to match the Backlash theme, and the hooks are moving back and forth, swaying back and forth. Very creative stage design by the WWF production team. I thought this was like their peak, this era of stage designs.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I missed. Looking back at old ones is like, I missed like the unique stage designs.
Yeah, they all look the same now, mostly.
And it was a weird thing because it was great, and there was a lot of people I knew on the periphery who loved working for WWF in terms of like graphics people and design people, because really that was one of the things about Mercurial Vince, not like counting beans and being cheap. He was like, let's hire top dollar people and let them run with it, and there was so much stuff going on that sometimes people would come and like, well, what is the motif for Backlash? Oh, that looks cool. It wasn't like he had his fingers on it. Like, there wasn't enough time for him to be like, I need to see everything. Now I think the machine gets so big, it gets like kind of weirdly risk averse, if you will, or just that there was like less people involved. It made for more like odd choices, not necessarily odd choices, more dynamic choices of graphics and what have you. And like, what's the theme of the pay-per-view? Oh, let's see what they do. And people were always back at the studio. Like we had talked before, Pete, we'd be like, sometimes I'd be like, oh, here's this opening segment. Just go to this to tell the studio. We'd be on a Monday Night Raw and we'd go to like Tuesday and be like, let's have a recap of what happened. Just tell the studio. And then people there working at night would just on their own make the recap based on your instructions, and then you'd just see it the next day at the truck, and you'd often be like, oh, that's great. So people felt really empowered, and there was like an anonymity to, not an anonymity, but they were empowered to do their job and make dynamic choices without being scared of like, of things like that. And we were often just coming and being like, it wasn't like in the rundown, oh, there'll be swaying hooks and what have you. You'd show up and be like, oh, this looks fucking awesome.
Yeah. So, and the first talent we see on screen is the returning Debra. And Jerry Lawler is absolutely losing it. The puppies! Oh,
dude.
Puppies! Oh!
I wrote it down about 3/4 of the way through the fucking pay-per-view. I was like, shut the fuck up, Jerry. Just 'cause, like, I was getting so fed up with them. It's like,
well, in terms of that, fed up and yelling at someone to shut up is certainly better than changing the channel and being
for sure. I was like, man, so rarely do I get like that. I understand the time period, but I was just like, oh my God, enough. I know you're horny.
Oh yeah, when we get to the Trish,
it's like sitting next to a high energy pervert on a plane or something. Oh, yeah, all right. Oh, this Playboy. Oh, yeah, I know. All right.
I kind of think this was a mistake to bring Debra out as a smart mark. Let me put on my smart mark hat here, because later on in the show, as we know, I mean, it's not really a spoiler. I assume everyone's seen it. There is to do about, is Steve Austin actually here? Is Steve Austin in the building? And blah, blah, blah. And as now looking back, you might not know, but at the time, I want to say like 80% of WWF fans knew that Debra was married to Steve Austin in this moment that we're watching.
Right.
They're no longer married.
Right.
So it's like she hasn't been on TV. All of a sudden she's back. And now we're supposed to wonder, is Austin there? Obviously he's there. If she's there, it's like, it's a bit of a tell.
Is it? Sure, it's a tell, but also the same thing could be, just because she's there doesn't mean he's not there.
Well, she hasn't been there. She disappeared off TV just as soon as he disappeared off TV. But
yes.
I mean, this is a smart.
Again,
mark
I'll
thing.
push back with like, this is an agitated smart mark going, no, he's definitely here. Oh, why would she be here? And that's exactly what you want. You want an agitated smart mark and another smart. Well, it doesn't mean It doesn't mean she's here. Of course she's here. Why should she be here if he's not here? That's what you want.
That's
and
fair.
also, and I'll say this: one of the reasons was invoking the presence of Austin without showing copious amounts of clips of him, which we kind of did later. If you know what he did, this is just So,
okay,
I'll stand by it.
Oh my God, I've been taken. So she introduces the match. It's X-Pac and Road Dogg against Edge and Christian for the tag team titles. Like I said, we're in D.C. Lawler says, you can tell we're in D.C. because there's a lot of politicians here. First cheering X-Pac, now saying X-Pac sucks. Ross confirms that there are indeed politicians here, and Lawler asks, "Is Hillary here?" I believe this is the final lap of the Clinton presidency while we're doing this, which is it's even crazy to think about that. Like we're still in the Clinton era here.
Oh, my favorite president. Ooh.
At one point, X-Pac hits the Bronco Buster, and Jim Ross says, "X-Pac riding bareback on Christian in the corner." Phrasing, JR, phrasing.
Yeah. That's going in a clip. That's going in like the compilation of gay things said during wrestling broadcast.
Yeah.
I was very impressed. Like, this was a good match. Great work. And they were rewarded with a hot crowd that was treating the close pins as if it was the main event. Like, the crowd really got into this. Too much calamity at the end to like really go into detail. Tori tried to interfere. Edge tried to stop. There was a duck. Tori gets hit. X-Pac had the pin on Edge. Christian comes in and hits him with the ring bell. And huge pop. Edge and Christian get the win. I guess when Christian hit X-Pac with the ring bell, like there was a screw or something that got X-Pac right in the face, legit. And he was cut hard way. And you saw it out of nowhere. He's like, he's bleeding really intensely. And you even see it in the next match. Like the whole mat is covered in blood.
I mean, for like the entire show, I just kept like being like, oh yeah, he's just, I don't remember this being like a freaking death match in there. What happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, there was something, this match did not, I happen to know that didn't go the way it was, obviously things are called and what have you, but
I'm sorry to interrupt, Tommy. I read in the Observer that X-Pac also had an asthma attack during this match and that he called for the match to end early.
I'm not sure. I didn't know that. I knew something was funky. I thought he was like hurt in another way, but no, that makes sense. I know that it was like, they came out and like, well, that didn't go the way we wanted to, and that didn't plan, and this was fucked up, and everyone's going crazy, and like it worked. So that
was it too. By the end of the match, it definitely felt like it shifted. It was like it was like a good match. It was solid. It was enjoyable, and it was like clean. And then the finish just felt kind of like a cluster, like a bit of like a calamity. Like all like grabbed the bell all of a sudden. I was like, okay, that kind of came a little out of nowhere to me.
Yeah, and it was. I remember it was odd. And that would happen more in TV when like things are like more. The timing is like something goes long, someone's match has to be condensed, and then the ref has the IFP, and it's just like go home, and like what? Go home? All right.
Where's the bell?
But still, for what it was a fun opener, and the crowd was really engaged. So you got to get in that.
I know you with those four guys. It's going to be like you're not getting the clunker.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was interesting because there was a lot of like, still was in that transitional phase, obviously, of like, the Vince McMahon had a famous speech where he said, the days of, he didn't say exactly this, babyface and heels is passe. It's kind of like we're in this world of like, who's a heel? What does it matter? So there's a lot of like the crowds being up on. It was interesting where it's like, oh, DX, they're heels. Oh, but then everyone loves Road Dogg's like Mike stuff, like so people could be like, yeah, oh boo, you suck. Oh, but I love that part, and then like Edge and Christian were becoming charismatic heels, so it was kind of like it was an interesting thing for a lot of the the old school agents and stuff. Like, oh, this is who's a heel, who doesn't matter. It's just like throw them in there.
It's like if the heels and babyface like gone, it's like everyone's just like cool assholes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's why we always talk about Kurt Angle being like so cool, emerging as like, oh, he acted like an 80s babyface and he is an actual heel in that weird way where the baby faces are people that acted like heels from the past, so to speak. So, but yeah, good match.
Then we have the light heavyweight title on the line. Scotty Hotty against Dean Malenko. And this was a wrestling match. And I say that as the highest compliment. This was
Dean
great.
Malenko.
Yeah, Dean Malenko. Yeah. Like, I'm really remembering how much I love Dean Malenko on these rewatches. Like, he's so good. And I also want to give a big shout out to Jim Ross. I feel like Jim Ross was on top of his game this evening. More so, like he's always on top, but like more so than usual for sure. It helped that he had a lot of great material to work with, but he just seemed like really, really into it. And I really appreciated how for some of the wrestlers that are a little newer to WWE, like Malenko, who's only been in the company for 2 or 3 months, he took the time to give a little history. He said that Malenko was the son of Boris Malenko, the inventor of the Russian chain match. I think that really adds so much for a fan that might not know who, I guess this guy's a big deal. He's like a second generation wrestler. I should pay attention to him, So I
love that too, really the inventor of it. How about we bring a chain and I'm Russian? There you go. Invented.
Fly in the chains from Russia. Don't bring them from down the street.
Yeah. They must be special forged from T-60 tanks from Stalingrad battle. Oh, that would have been good.
I love JR though, because I feel like he's so, there's such like especially in this era of like the crazy edgy stuff, JR has this like, I say innocence about it. Like, anything he says, you like kind of believe. You're like, oh, he's so compelling about it. The way he explains things and tells you things, you're like, yeah, that's the honest guy in this carnival of debauchery.
That's what I love. He has the credibility, and he presents everything as if he's a sports announcer.
Yeah.
Like like the great Gordon Soley. He's got a weird foot in the past of just kind of like announcing style, but also like nothing's ever you need that too. I think because when like wrestling's so fucking ridiculous that you need an announcer to go like, well, that's uncalled for, My favorite of all was always Gordon Soley in some just preposterous, like weird double gimmick happening around him, and him like, well, Kevin Sullivan trying to conjure up some sort of satanic nonsense, there's something that settles it. There's a he's like a rock in the weird stormy seas of Gaga, and you can hold on to like, oh, there's JR with his like old school, this is ridiculous. Yeah,
and it doesn't take you out of it too either. It's so he's so well. It's so well done. Because you think like anyone doing like who's like feels like a little like old school like throwback voice and in the way he's presenting, you could be like, I don't want this. I want someone to be like, kick his ass. Like I don't know, just like you're like, oh, it's like this comfort blanket a little bit. Like you're like, oh
no,
nice.
And I'm in my opinion, you need that contrast because sometimes when everyone's like that, like, oh, we got to have another cool guy, we'll come out and stare down with another cool guy, and we got a cool guy and fucking announce it. It just gets like, oh, it's just fucking boring, or just there's no, like WWF or E would go through those points where like every promo is like, I've got a smoldering promo. Now here, hand you the mic. I've got my smoldering promo. Hand you the mic, and you're just like, well, fuck, where's the the 2-sentence weirdo, the monosyllabic weirdo. Where's the old school? Yeah, it's contrast. Yeah, so he definitely plays a big role that you don't even like think about sometimes, I think.
So a lot of psychology in this match. Malenko working over the leg because, of course, Malenko's finisher is the Texas Cloverleaf, so he's softening up Scotty's leg for the big finish. We get a superplex at one point. And I only mention this, and I will continue to mention this, because I feel like every match after this had a superplex spot. and then, like, I never noticed it before until this event. Like, guys, talk to each other, or like watch the other matches so you don't repeat the spots.
There was a few things like that I started to notice a little bit about, like, and it's come into like being backstage, and even like my school shows. We'd be like, all right, who's doing these things? Or like the show I just did in Toronto, it's like, who's using these weapons? Like, to not then do them again. Because there's a few instances in this show I was like, all right, we have done that. The ref didn't see the tag spot like 5 times.
Oh, yes. Every tag match had the blind tag that the ref missed. That was another repeated spot. But to be fair, I feel that's just like the structure of that's the only structure of a tag match that WWE does.
And frankly, how it happens a lot is just like I said, these shows and this pace of this era was so insane, of people like going, and here's your matches, you're off with your agent, you're off with the agent, we're off. Sometimes they'll be watching and be like, oh shit. And you say like, well, watch the other matches. There's no time. You're going over your stuff, and then like, why'd your match suck? Well, I was watching the other match that came, or whatever. But so sometimes they'll be watching it, and that will be be like, oh, holy shit, they did that. Oh, we did. You know what I mean? I'm sure at your shows, like, it wasn't like, oh fuck, it just one of those things that happened to be like, god damn, this one show, fucking 3 matches did the same spot. Fuck. Yeah. And then you don't want to put in a system that's like, we got to make sure this never happens. It just fucking happens sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those bigger spots. It's just like, you'd be like, obviously that situation is a lot different, but yeah, it would be like, all right, when it's like everyone's there, it's calling out, but that's so much easier, I feel like, in an indie show when there's 15 of us.
Yeah. When you're just over there, but even such, I'm sure you did the same thing. Like, we're talking over a thing, you got to be like, hey, is he making a hand gesture of the same spot over in the other part of the hallway? Right. Oh, I didn't catch that, or you know what I mean? It's like, it's just one of those things. It's like a fucking comedy show too, or something like.
Yes.
Oh, he's doing the fucking bit. It's my fucking. I got a shittier version of the same fucking joke. Oh, it's all the same.
Great action in this match, though. At one point, Malenko hit a Tiger Driver, which was so cool. You never saw that in WWE at this point. So I thought that was really cool. Big response to the Worm. Crowd is really into this match, so it's really exciting. The end of the match sees Scotty to Hotty trying to hit his own superplex on Dean Malenko, and as they go up, Malenko counters the suplex attempt into a vicious-looking half-Nelson DDT. It looked awesome. It looked like he could have just completely ripped Scotty's shoulder out of the socket with the way they landed, but great spot to end the match, and Malenko retains the title. Dave Meltzer ranked this match 4 stars, which is a big rating for Dave for WWF in this era, and this was his match of the night for this.
I can't think of me personally a better... Maybe there is one better, bigger, light heavyweight, cruiserweight match in WWF.
This is great.
And it was. I remember talking about the lineup. It was like a good thing to have second. Where people were like, "Oh, what is this?" It just worked. It was almost one of those things that was like, you almost so happy for the performers, because so much of like this era, whatever, like, look at these incredible wrestlers, and the fans are sitting on their hands and not appreciating it. Like, oh fuck, if this were in Japan, they would have fucking lost their minds. But just to see that, and Malenko, just to watch him work, he's got that crazy, I don't know, but that second generation stuff, like, oh, that guy's been working matches since he was in diapers. Look at his body, the way his balance and stuff.
It's the little details he has.
Yeah, he's he looks like a chimp or something, the way he's like, his back is always straight. You know what I mean? And everything is like, oh, he's never going to land wrong. He's never going to hurt. Oh, that looks vicious. It's just like always in control. It's like kind of fascinating to watch. And their sizes, you feel like, oh, those guys could do so much stuff that, you know, big guys can't do just by the nature of like their, you know, physical sizes. And then it was also like a coming out party for Scotty Too Hotty in the sense of like, oh, hey, look at this guy. He's
a great worker.
Well, that's what I was gonna say too. Is like you have like that great work rate, and obviously Dean Malenko, I feel like is always at the top of people's lists of like great wrestlers, but not always the most like captivating character to like a lot. I'd say, especially to that era of wrestling, where that thing. But then you have Scotty Too Hotty, which is like a product of that era, and I feel I feel like there's something for everyone to kind of get invested to. Like, oh, people are like, oh, Scotty Too Hotty, like, I get traded. And then that puts them into focusing on it. And then they see both of these guys doing an actual great match and a great.
It was interesting because it was almost like, you know, we always talk about this era and people like, you know, it's, oh, the more the fan base grew, it wasn't about the wrestling and like less wrestling. But this was almost like a thing to be like, okay, everybody, remember, it's wrestling.
Yeah, that's what the show felt like. We're wrestling, like this is a wrestling company. This was so. It was so refreshing.
It was like someone watching a football game where like, oh, they just handed the ball off, but the football fucking gods would be like, no, that was a classic way to win the game, and you know what I mean. And it was, you know, in the trenches, and it just but it was still dynamic. It was so great that the crowd was. So glad it ended up being second, because you're always shuffling stuff around. Like, when should it be? And be like, second's perfect. A big barn burner, and then this where people are still active. Sometimes fourth match, you know, fifth match. Like, oh, I'm getting bored. I got to fucking go take a pee or get some popcorn. And this was like perfectly placed. So I remember being so pleased that the crowd was that hot into it. You know.
Yeah. And also I feel like this was a case where both guys got the other over. Like you said, Scotty has the gimmick.
Yeah.
So it got Dean Malenko over as a great wrestler who's a serious threat. And conversely, Malenko helped Scotty show that, like, oh, I could wrestle too. I'm not just the worm. I could have a great match.
Right.
So I think it was very successful. Then we had Bull Buchanan and Big Boss Man against the APA. Huge pop for APA when they came out. They sounded great. Jim Ross reminds us about Bull Buchanan. His mama named him Barry, but his friends call him Bull. And then about Farouk, Ross said that in his younger days as Ron Simmons, he was an All-American. Always loved to point out which wrestlers were great football stars back in the day, which I think is a great thing.
Ron Simmons is arguably one of the greatest college football players of all time. Florida State, huge program. His locker is plexiglass.
Oh, wow.
That's that's weird, respect. Unbelievable honor. Like, that fucking guy is so good. Just plexiglass his locker.
No one can have his locker.
For just other people to look at. Like, yeah, he was unbelievable.
Bull Buchanan hits a huge superplex onto Bradshaw. We got a light heavyweight superplex and then a super heavyweight superplex in the next match. Bradshaw immediately recovers, hits a vicious clothesline from hell. Bossman breaks it up. Farouk throws him out of the ring. Bossman grabs the nightstick, smashes Farouk. Bradshaw goes to attack Bossman behind the ropes.
Oh my God. What a match. He's got, Pasbani's freaking out. He can't even
behind the ref's back. Bradshaw goes to attack Bossman. He gets the nightstick. Bull hits a flying kick. APA do the job.
Yeah. I think there was a point in this where they really were trying to get Bull Buchanan over, because they're just like, he was a great worker. He had everyone's respect in what he could do, and just one of those things where like, just keep, I don't know,
they
whatever.
Like, who is he? You know, like, there's still no
right.
He's just a name.
Yeah, and that was the problem of the Attitude Era. Everything's so hot, like trying to slot someone in and without like the proper whatever you can say this, that, or the other. But I think Jim Ross said during this, like, 6'8". I think he was like, I don't think he's 6'8", you know. Mm-hmm. Kind of like trying to like, we got to get him over. Instead of 6'4", let's say 6'8". Yeah, that'll help. Maybe it does. I don't know. Because the APA could be like, we could absorb 1 million fucking losses.
I do want to say it was basically the same ending as the first tag team match. But like you said, that wasn't the original plan for the first match. So,
Right.
so acceptable.
There was a moment in this match that I was like, holy crap, because like I always kind of had an affinity for Big Boss Man. Like I always like, I don't know, maybe I didn't hate cops as much yet. But like he took a shoulder check, he goes down, he bounces off the middle rope, comes right back to his feet, and gets hit with like a huge clothesline. And it was like one of those things, like one of those small things. You're like, oh, as a guy his size though, it was just like it was very impressive and like really stood out to me.
Well, he's super impressive, and he's behind the scenes a well-respected worker, and he's a guy that, you know, even when he was Big Baba Rogers, when you came out, I don't know if you remember that, and he'd have just like those like 5XL dress shirts with that big belly. He was always just like a natural worker, and he's this guy who's like, yeah, whatever, shucks. Like he was a sneaky great athlete. Because he worked all styles, he worked with everyone, and if you look at it, it's like, oh yeah, hell, that guy was around a lot of eras before he passed away, unfortunately young, but he could absorb losses, it didn't matter, he was always there, you could call him talent enhancement, whatever, as far as like pushes or whatever, he was just like a guy that'd be like, work with anyone, never a complaint, never hurt anyone, big, huge, and like you said, sneaky things like that, like, never missed spots, and then was always like, hey, shucks, didn't even like act like whatever, like this, you know, incredible.
Like he didn't need to go to the second rope. Like he could have just bounced off the top, like off the top rope. The fact that he went down like that. This is also when my partner started joining me in the living room and started watching, and boy, did he have a crush on Big Boss Man. Oh.
Yeah. What a great funny guy. He would you know, be on the road. I would get like a call sometimes like, hey, man, what are you doing? Well, just thinking of you, man.
Oh.
You know, it's like we're just, you know, drunk or doing something. He was one of those guys like no one had a bad word.
Yeah, you don't have there's no like stories about him getting a receipt or anything like that. You don't hear anything like that.
No. Who's going over? Huh? All right. You know, yeah. I'll put you over 10 times in a row.
This did also remember how much I like the APA too. Like I just love that, just drunk and brawling. I was like, these are my guys.
I love it too, and behind the scenes, like, look, the trick of booking is always like, hey, you got 40 on the roster and half have to lose, and how do you keep them from going down or whatever? So I always looked at like that was a great thing to be like, these guys are over, they're tough as shit. Regular tag teams don't even want them in the mix, and they go for beer money. They could be this entity that was dynamic and didn't have to be in the mix. Because I always, philosophically, I feel like if you're not going after the title, you know, in some way, shape, or form, rising, then you're kind of sinking, or you got to be involved in some kind of feud that's to the side of the title, or you just feel like you're spinning your wheels, or you get a weird thing like these guys can fill a different slot that were like, they're just these wild fucking guys that are dynamic and appear, in for a fight. And they absorbed a pinfall. Who cares? You know.
Backstage, the Hardys said they have an understanding during their hardcore match. Every man for himself. So if it comes down to them, no beef. And then Crash and Hardcore mirror the segment that the Hardys have, except they don't get along. And Crash says, "May the best man win." And then Hardcore Holly smacks him over the head like, "What are you, stupid?" I thought this is good.
I also wrote down that the Crash and Hardcore's interaction was very porno because they kept referring to each other as cousin. I was like, the Hardys didn't call themselves brother. They didn't say like, oh, brother, because they actually are fucking brothers. So it's like Crash and Hardcore. I see. What do you mean? Come on, cousin. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I was like, shut up.
I like this thread throughout the show where everyone's wondering, where's Austin? How come Austin hasn't showed up yet? Jim Ross notes that there was a big parade and maybe he got stuck in traffic. And then Lawler quips, if Ross marched in that parade, and Ross goes, oh, hell no. So, of course, I had to look up what parade or what march was there, and it was, in fact, the Millennium March on Washington, which was an event to raise awareness and visibility of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people, LGBT issues in the U.S. This was before the QIA plus even. So it was like a weekend event for LGBT rights. So
I just got a text that my internet's out.
oh, okay. Well, we know that.
It's like Spectrum's like, hey, your internet's out. I'm like, yeah, fucking aware.
So that's interesting. Do you have any memories of the Millennium March on Washington, Tommy? Did that affect you at all?
No, I think that was the beginning of co-opting the Million Man March in a way to other, whatever causes and what have you, and kind of the beginning of, and also the beginning of everything like National Whatever Day. Well, it's National, now there's like it's National Hot Dog Day. Not to diminish it or whatever, but I just remember like it was like, oh, okay, now we're gonna get our parade or whatever, but that's lots of America.
The gays love to parade, so I'm sure
this is true. Hey, and you know what? Whatever you feel, goddammit, they're good at it.
So then we get the hardcore title match: Crash Holly versus Hardcore Holly versus Taz versus Jeff Hardy versus Matt Hardy versus Perry Saturn, and this was awesome.
This is what I was hoping WrestleMania should have been like, and that WrestleMania was kind of like last minute funky. We all talked about the problems with WrestleMania, but this was like, okay, you mean this is what you mean? Like, yes, this is like. This was fun.
This was great. Yeah. My only critique is it maybe went like 3 to 5 minutes too long. Like by the end of it, the crowd was a little deflated, but it was so fun. And it's like also I think because the first 5 to 7 minutes were so exciting that like they just couldn't keep that energy up.
And what a critique. That's like saying a marathon runner, 3/4 of the way through that marathon, that guy looked a little tired. Like, what do you want?
No, don't get me wrong. Like it was great. It was great. So the spot that like really sticks out in my head, and that as soon as I saw the set, I immediately remembered, was that right at the beginning of the match, all the competitors are fighting. They get to the outside. They fight to the entrance area where the hooks are, the truss hooks.
Right.
And then Matt Hardy and Crash Holly climb one of the hooks, which is crazy. And Crash does the spot where he gets his leg stuck and he's hanging upside down from this hook, like 10 feet up in the air.
Yeah.
Looked great. And then immediately after, Matt Hardy jumps from like 12 feet in the air onto like all the other competitors who are thankfully there to catch him. But the crowd went nuts for this. They did not. This is the first time a set piece has been jumped off of. So this was so great.
Yes, I agree. It was great. I'm not sure it was the first time a set piece was jumped off of. I'm sure, wrestling has a proud history of.
That's fair. That's fair. But it was rare. It was rare. You didn't see like people jumping up the Titantron.
Yeah, it was good. And it was often, like I said, that's the most amazing thing to impress upon people. It's like, oh, things are choreographed in this. Sure they are, but often it's like, oh, look at this set. And then all the, the workers and the agents like walking out there, hey, we could do this. Often it'd be like an hour, 2 hours before, like, hey, what if we did a thing here? Hey, let's see this. Does this come down? Hey, let's try this. Like just like they just do it, It is like a huge indie show in a sense. It's just like, what do we got here? Let's, that's all it is.
Holy shit, Jan, for the mat spot too. Sorry, go ahead.
But was it normal for the Hardcore Championship that everyone had to go to pin Crash?
Oh, you mean the stipulation?
The stipulation. Was that usual for this? I don't know if it's like
no.
Okay, that was like the first. That was like I don't remember seeing that very often. That you could only win if you pinned Crash.
Oh, yeah, that was odd.
The case. Was that the
case?
No,
there was a mention. You're right.
That was the case. After they all tried to pin Crash. No one tried to pin anyone else.
Yeah. So
that's true. Yeah, I didn't pick up on that, but you're right.
Well, he had the it was.
I think the story was just that everybody hated Crash and they were like bullying him, or not bullying, but like beating up on the.
Yeah.
It was a little convoluted because they were also pushing that he's the hardcore Houdini. He gets away with it, and he runs away. But how do you contain that in a match? There was a lot of stuff because I was always pushing this because it was my idea, the 24/7 title, and then it would always be like, sometimes Vince, yeah, but what about this? And like, I don't know, just fucking have it. So sometimes there would be like a logic thing thrown in, and then you'd move to something else, and then later in the production meeting or whatever, like, what is this? Yeah, everyone can just pin him. I'm not sure. It's fucking getting late. Just throw it out there. And then here we are 20 some years later, and Peter Angelo's like, what? I didn't quite understand that.
No, I didn't understand it. It's just the only time I feel like I've seen it. It's the only time I think I've seen it. I kind of liked it.
No. Yeah. Well, that was by design. I said, look.
There's some cool spots here. Saturn actually slams Crash Holly into the hook, breaking the end of the hook.
That one popped. That one popped me.
That looks great.
Yeah.
And then Jeff Hardy swung from one of the hooks into a Hurricane Rana onto Saturn. That got a big whoa from the crowd. Yeah. Everyone was going crazy. ECW chants. Taz got some time to shine. This is the best I thought Taz has looked since coming to WWE, because he looked like the old ECW Taz. He was tough. He was calling everyone a piece of shit. He was using weapons. He was choking someone with like an extension cord at one point. Saturn got some good offense. And what I liked, too, was after a while, the crowd was so into this that you kind of get this where it's like they're not making any noise, but they're very clearly paying attention. They're like hushed and like just waiting for the next crazy thing. And then there's a huge moment where everyone's just hitting each other with cooking sheets. And Jim Ross quips, "This ain't exactly Emeril Lagasse on the Food Network." Which is a great reference for the moment. Taz hits a nasty lariat on Crash Holly, where like you hear like like all throughout the arena, the whole building was like, "Wow, that's huge."
Yeah. And then, as we've talked before about the different pops. There's the Kerry Von Erich screeching high, sexually excited lady pop. There's that, but this got the good hardcore, like, ooh.
Yeah.
Those, like, there's silence, and then there's like, oh, like just different pops. That's one of my favorites is that, oh.
Yeah. The Hardys bring out a ladder. This gets a very, very big reaction. The folks at Home Depot must be very proud tonight, says Jim Ross. Everyone gets on their feet as Jeff climbs the ladder. JR asks, is he a young Shawn Michaels? Which you couldn't give Jeff Hardy a better compliment.
Yeah.
And then Swanton from the top of the ladder. It looks beautiful. Matt immediately tries to steal the cover. They argue, and Taz hits a huge double clothesline. Taz teases the Taz mission on Crash Holly. The crowd is ready for it. The crowd wants Taz to win the title. He locks in the Taz mission. Saturn has a stop sign, hits Taz over the head with it, knocks him out. There's a lot of commotion, All of a sudden, Crash Holly just barely inches over to Taz, who's knocked out from the stop sign, and steals the victory while everyone else is on the outside. Great ending for a great match. I kind of wish Taz would have won, but obviously that's not the story you're telling here. This is really fun.
And those stop signs, it's not a gimmick stop sign. Stop signs are almost bad because... those like really shiny new trash cans?
Yeah.
They just fold. You can get hit with them all day. No problem. Cooking sheets. Stop sign almost doesn't look like it's but they're fucking heavy. And they're hard to work and they hurt, but they don't have the impact like, oh my God, a cooking sheet's but it's like nothing. But a stop sign is just potentially more dangerous. The corners are sharp. It's fucking heavy. It's almost like don't use a stop sign. It looks more lame, but it's just way more heavy and dangerous. Do you ever fool with gimmicks like that?
Stop sign, no.
Yeah,
I've been with chairs, candlesticks, but not a stop sign. There was a stop sign used in the Toronto show.
Right.
Allen.
Get those brand new metal trash cans. They just fold and you know what I mean. They're like
it has the trash cans have like the look and the sound to like the impact.
Exactly. When you got to gimmick the stop sign like in a way where it's like, oh, that looks lame, and then in actuality it's like that's fucking thick hard metal and heavy, and the edges are so easy to be that hurts.
We get Coachman backstage with Shane. He's asked about a conflict of interest, and Shane says, no, I'm going to be impartial. Kurt Angle comes out. He says, like George Washington, I cannot tell a lie. The Big Show is a giant waste of talent. Like Abraham Lincoln, I'm honest to a fault. If the Big Show had my 3 eyes, maybe he wouldn't be such a disappointment. And Marion Barry, actually, I have nothing in common with him, the mayor of D.C. at the time, and you should be ashamed of re-electing him. That actually got heat. The D.C. faithful love Marion Barry. That's what's wrong with America. We're liars. We're cheaters. I mean, look at our president. Let's be honest. Awesome. I might be the only hero you might have left, and that, my friends, is true. And then he does this thing where he like kisses his hand, and he says like he acknowledges someone in the crowd, like I see you, but it's like no one. So good, so good. Then for the first time in maybe a decade, Real American blasts through a WWF arena since WrestleMania 9, and we're at WrestleMania 16. So 7 years was we haven't heard Real American, which is crazy to think. We're only 7 years removed from WrestleMania 9 at this point. It feels like a completely different era. Real American blast, crowd reacts huge. The Big Show comes out dressed as Hulk Hogan, complete with a skullet wig, where he's got the Hulk Hogan wig, he's got a fake mustache, fully in character. And what's interesting
huge yellow trunks.
Huge yellow trunks.
Humongous.
Is the announcers sort of put over Hulk Hogan. You're not burying Hogan here. You're saying that Big Show is emulating his hero, the legendary Hulk Hogan.
That's a stretch, Rob. That's a stretch.
The guy that threw him off a roof.
Also it's like he's emulating him by okay.
He's paying tribute to Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, that's definitely
by wearing
what I
a
thought.
bald cap.
Definitely thought that was
might I say, yeah. My retort to that is he?
Kurt Angle, absolutely disgusted by this. Big Show gets the mic. Well, you know something, Kurt Angle, dude. Gets a big pop from Lawler and JR. You talk a lot of trash. I've been to the top of the mountain, brother. And, does the whole Hogan shtick. What you gonna do when the showster runs wild on you? Big pop for that line.
This is so huge. You got to remember the historical context. I think the Hogan stuff just gets so overplayed, and now it gets to the point where, someone gets so much older in age or even passes away, it becomes to this icon level. But if you remember at the time, his stuff was down, WCW, and it just, people were still starving for that. Whether they knew it or not, that nostalgic like Hoganisms that even Hogan, didn't have at WCW for a while, because it's like you can't just wrench that the whole time. So the timing of this was so weirdly spectacular, and you kind of just knew it would work. Just by if you did this even years later when everyone was doing it or whatever, it just seemed like this timing was perfect. Like
this was the first Hogan parody that you did in WWE.
Yeah, and just with the Big Show, it was such an odd Gaga match.
Yeah,
but it just killed me to think of like fucking Kurt Angle is so funny and so dismissive and so weird, and it's just a straight comedy Gaga thing. And then at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, he's the guy that can tie up anyone in the fucking whole locker room. He's the toughest guy out there, just like being weird. And then the Big Show, of course, regardless of what you think of his working or what have you, he's an extraordinary physical presence. So you got these two guys in this collision course and just throw them in this Gaga thing, and it just works in the weirdest way. It's just kind of like, and especially I always think like of a good pay-per-view being like, there's the burner match, there's the wrestling match, there's the exciting thing, here's the weird Gaga thing. But just, if it were just two guys that were just like not great workers, like, okay, fine. But just that it's these two guys, and especially Angle, I'll never get over the fact that, like, yeah, he's the one. He can tie up anyone there. He's an Olympic gold medalist. And he's just exploiting himself to a wonderful level of, professional wrestling madness. I said it again.
Got it. So the story of the match is basically he does all the silly Hogan stuff initially. He's doing a Hulk up, punch, kick, leg drop. The crowd completely bought that this was going to be the finish within like 10 seconds. But there was a kick out, and then Angle clips Big Show's leg, and then he's working him. The crowd starts chanting for Hogan. Ross says more people chanting Hogan than they have in years, which is a great little shiv at WCW. And then, of course, the big ending sees Big Show just like, a switch flips as has been happening, and he just gets pissed, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm a giant. And he rips off the wig, attacks, choke slam, clean pinfall. This is maybe the first clean loss that Kurt Angle has taken, I think. I
think it might be.
Yeah. So you kind of sacrificed Kurt Angle for this bit.
That kind of took me by a little surprise.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Well, like the super great ones can just they can sacrifice themselves. And he was so established at this point, you feel like he's not going anywhere. He's fucking awesome. He can get heat on himself. And I always think of it's like, we talk a lot about Mick Foley being like, what a goofball. He can just go out there and be an idiot and just a goofball and get pinned over and over and get his heat back like that because he's insane. Where Kurt Angle can get his heat back like that because he has that pedigree. Right. You know what I mean? And it's like, and you're always looking for a way for you smart mark, clean finish smart marks, a way to get a pinfall that people both can recover from. That's always the weird trick of booking. And so that's that.
Yeah, so this was fun. Then backstage, we have Trish Stratus. Trish, the world wants to know how you really feel about Bubba Ray Dudley. This is Michael Cole asking her. And she responds, Mikey, Bubba's a passionate man. He's a man not afraid to express his true emotions. Most men bottle up that tension and then they go home and they just explode. But Bubba's feels special. Bubba's different, and Bubba's gonna find exactly how I feel. And then you see Bubba watching the screen at another part of the arena, and he's already in his trance. And Devon's like, "Bro, step out of it. We gotta kick some ass."
Bubba Ray simp.
And Rob Pasbani with his fabulous, antiquated Marilyn Monroe version of Trish Stratus.
I mean, same vibes. We see Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins is here. Obviously a big wrestling fan. Did you interact at all with Billy backstage?
Didn't know it at the time. No, too busy. He was on Conan. I remember interacting with him, and at the time, I met him at a bar, and it was weird to see at the time, like, he was wearing a UFC beanie. Big deal nowadays, but back then it was still a little bit like I was, he's a UFC fan. Not everyone knew about, UFC that much, or it was, I don't say it was a counterculture thing, maybe a little bit, but it was like,
so. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and where nowadays, like, whatever, but so I did kind of had an inkling about it. So,
and they were kind of joking about Smashing Pumpkins, the name, and Lawler goes, "I'm not talking about what you do on Halloween, JR. These guys are great." And then JR just goes like, "Wow, you're so hip." And then immediately after, the Dudleys come out, and there's like a little silence, and then Lawler goes, "These guys will break your hip." Which is like, this is why these two are the absolute best in this moment. Because to bring it back to wrestling, like, that's talent. And, talk about Lawler.
You think they're I'm not to cut you off. You think they're the absolute best? These two?
I would, yes. And during this era, like, it got a little.
Oh, that's quite a qualifier during this era.
Well, I mean, like, after 2005, it's unbearable. Like, Lawler becomes unbearable.
Right.
Because the show kind of moves on, but he's still doing the same shtick. But, like, in this moment, like, them on this stretch of the Attitude Era, I would say they're the best.
Well, yeah, you're throwing these qualifiers out there.
All right.
Yeah.
No,
is Tom Brady the best quarterback ever? And during that Super Bowl, he was.
All right. No, that's right. No, I do think they're the best, though. The only other.
Monsoon Ventura?
I was going to say Monsoon Heenan I liked, but you're right, Ventura.
I love Ventura.
It's interesting because I think Ventura is arguably the best color guy because he created the role.
For me, Ventura, Monsoon. You know, I don't know. Maybe I'm being nostalgic.
I mean, yeah, like also there's a bias too. Like, I mean, I watched Ventura Monsoon, but I was like super young, and then like this was during my like teen years, so I could see I'm a little biased.
Let's not bring your hormones into
Sorry.
it. It's an objective.
I love Jim Ross I have so much respect for Jim Ross.
Yeah.
Like, I think Jim Ross is better than Gorilla, but I think Ventura is better than Lawler. So, you know, like...
You stop.
And this is where the podcast ends.
Yeah. So, but speaking of...
They're all great. Let's leave it that. They're all great.
Yeah.
They're all top notch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's...
No, absolutely. I don't want to take anything away from them. No, the best commentary duo is Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. That's number one. No. I couldn't believe how horny the cameramen were during this match. Constantly doing the low shot on Trish to show her butt. And like,
you couldn't believe it?
I mean, I can believe it, but like, it's
so many 90% ass and tits.
It's
I
so
forgot she had
overt.
a face.
Yeah, it's so overt, and like really, she obviously plays into it. So she is in the tightest pink outfit. It's like a bikini top and short shorts that do not cover the bottom of her shorts, and over that she's wearing like a see-through white robe. Like, that's kind of the vibe. She looks just unbelievable. Like, she looks very, very attractive, and. And I say this to someone that doesn't look at the lead. It's not really my thing.
That's quite a statement. And through all that was like, and the bottom line is, she's very attractive.
She's a talented woman. At one point, Bubba yells at Trish, "I'm going to get you, you bitch." Ross asks, did Bubba just call her a witch or something else? They do an early version of what eventually ends up being called Waza, the headbutt to the crotch, and JR quips, "That's Dudley's version of birth control." And Lawler says, "Trish, be careful, or they'll do that to you." They do another blind tag spot. This has happened so much tonight that JR on commentary starts putting heat on the refs for constantly missing these tags. Like, what is with the officials tonight?
Well, maybe that's what happened. That would have been a good broadcast or a good announcer angle. Like, I think all the wrestlers have been watching these refs and noticed like a flaw in how they referee the matches. That's why they're trying to take advantage of this.
I always appreciate when you provide this kind of nuance.
this kind of thing I should have brought up 20-some years ago to put into the broadcast. Right?
Unfortunately, the crowd gets a little restless and just start chanting, "We want tables." And JR points out that's like going to a NASCAR race and chanting, "We want a car crash," which I think is such a great analogy. Like, these are human beings, folks. Yeah. I'm not sure if they messed up the finish or what, because the Dudleys do a backwards 3D, like Test is facing the opposite way. It's a 2 count. Albert and Test clunky try to do their finish. They miss, and then Test again gets propped up into a proper 3D. As he's doing that, Trish gets on the apron, takes off her robe, shows her beautiful outfit. Her bum cakes are out for full display.
Her extreme attractiveness.
Yes, her very attractiveness. And then that allows Tess to land a huge kick on Bubba and get the victory. We get heat. Yep. TNA get the upset for heat. And as they're doing the pin, Lawler's just screaming at the top of his lungs, "Show me the A! Show me the A!" Because you just saw her ass right there before. Like, I don't want to... I want to mention. So the way the camera was positioned, it was like she is on the apron. Her ass is right in the middle of the screen. And then off to the side, Bubba and Test are wrestling. And when when Test gives Bubba the big kick, and Bubba falls and shakes the mat, you could see her ass jiggle. Like, I was watching this and me today was watching. I can only imagine how many children had their awakening.
Yeah.
Like, it was very explicit.
Well, you could argue you watch...
This is pay-per-view, baby!
Yeah. And you watch Olympic, or whatever, beach volleyball.
Yeah.
You can see all kinds of stuff. I mean, obviously, if the camera.
Are we comparing beach volleyball to Trish?
Well, have you seen some of those outfits in beach volleyball?
Yes.
Now
the women aren't proportioned quite the same. You imagine Trish trying to play beach volleyball?
No, you're right. You're right about that. But I will say that that's some still athletic competition perspective.
Yes, with asses out.
Just throwing it out there.
Okay.
Just throwing it out there. It's not a million light years away. Maybe it is. I don't know.
Party is not over yet, though, because immediately Devon gets back in the ring. They make quick disposal of T&A. Tess and Albert are out of the ring. Bubba grabs Trish by the hair. Crowd is going nuts. This is where it's a little uncomfortable. It's actually very uncomfortable to watch. A giant heavyweight dude grab a tiny woman and hold her by the hair.
Said Rod Pasbani. Huge grin. Huge glowing grin.
This is so uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable. I guess I'm so nervous I can't get this smile off my face.
He goes like, come
I'm
trying to find my spot. I'm finding a spot in the notes. So they have her
call it in the ring, Pasbani. You don't know where the spot is. Just call it in the ring.
He's advocating for Trish to just kiss Bubba. The crowd is absolutely apoplectic. They need the table spot. Trish goes for the kiss. Is this it? She walks away, proud of herself, wiping her lips. But no, Bubba breaks free of the spell. He grabs her by the hair again. The crowd is like, yes, this is happening. This is happening. I genuinely thought that at the last minute, you were going to have Tess and Albert come back and save her. But no, you get to be fair, you've been building to this for over a month. So the crowd deserves it. And I want to say that this was such a vicious table spot. This was not like the one with Mae Young where you could see he's protecting her.
Yeah. Crunch.
Yeah, he fucking lunged her. And I read in The Observer that Trish went up to Bubba and said, don't protect me. Really put me through it. I want to show I can take this stunt. Which I think that's very cool of her. She's here to play.
Yeah.
No, she was a real deal. She was, she came in at a high level just based, people don't really do that unless they're, behind the scenes. They're like, oh, she's a worker. Oh, she's ready. Oh, you know what I mean? She had plenty of that but upon arrival. And so that was that.
And also I like that the smile, when...
Oh, and by the way, Mae Young would have said the same thing. Make sure you throw me through that. But they're kind of like, I can't. You're too old. That'll be bad,
So afterwards, his grin is even more grinny than his typical grin. You see, he's flashing his teeth, and JR quips someone give him a cigarette.
Yeah. And it was almost like your grin when you couldn't believe how uncomfortable you were.
Lawler goes, "Oh, give her mouth to mouth." and then what I love is everyone's having fun, everyone's celebrating, but then the medics come and they're doing the stretcher spot, and immediately JR flips Trish is not moving, and that's not funny. We had some fun in this match, but this isn't so humorous now, and he's so good. I was losing. I was marking out for JR for how good he was. How let's have fun. Let's have there's a victim here. We're having our fun, but someone got hurt.
We've seen an assault.
And beautiful production here, because it's all one shot of the stretcher going into the backstage. You see, there's one camera shot. You get her thrown in the ambulance door closes, and just as the ambulance door closes, a 57 Chevy pulls up, and it's Eddie Guerrero and Chyna. Unbelievable. Looks so good.
Yeah.
And then a ref runs. He's like, "Eddie, you're late for your match." What? What do you mean? He's like, "If you don't get out there right now, you're going to forfeit your European title." Well, all right, Mamacita, I guess we got to get out there. So then this is the excuse for Eddie driving his lowrider out to the arena. If they want us to go out there, we're going out in style.
And that was we talk about the machine of wrestling was even like, when it's kind of suggested, yeah, Eddie in Chyna, she speaks Spanish, and then like, oh, he could be like this, and like, oh, he could come in a different lowrider, and you just like order that. And the amazing machine that was a WWF in all these different cities and all the tentacles they have with all the production that they've had for years, suddenly like every week there's like, and it was all pretty much free. It would be like they would just contact some kind of car club in every city, and you'd see some guys backstage like, yeah, give a few guys some backstage passes, and we'll use their car, and they would just drive out on the bed with all these different amazing cars. People were bending over backwards to just provide like cool different cars. So it just became a different thing. Like, oh, how about a fucking amazingly cool car every week? Sure. And then Eddie would be out there always with like car club guys like, hey, nice. Oh yeah, here's oh cool, and here's how it works, and okay, let's go. So it was just one of those things where that was so fun working at that huge machine that's like, I got an idea. Sure, okay. Tell that guy and it'll just happen. All right. Just like magic. Incredible.
Interestingly, Meltzer kind of condemns they're like, they had every racial stereotype in this for Eddie. But like you mentioned to me, this was all Eddie's idea.
This was Eddie leaning into it completely. And that's the weird thing that we've talked about too. The what wrestling is, and always wrestling was always to me in its greatest form is a kayfabe subculture that exploited and made fun of things. So you said in a good phrase, like the heat would go on the people and not the company. You know what I mean? So now it's like the heat goes. So now it has to be like, well, what are you representing? What are you trying to say? Like nothing,
Yeah.
Oh, that pisses people off. It's exploitative, And so like ultimately I would ask, Meltzer, who, was like, so the point is, what's your point? Wrestling is being exploitative to,
welcome.
Yeah. And also it's one of those things where say this carefully, where like all Eddie Guerrero and his fans are like, they're cracking up about it. Even like the GED thing, which is probably the rudest of all those kind of things, that I'm studying for my GED. Loved it. He loved it.
That's the thing. Is
invariably.
Like, Eddie was like beloved. Like I feel like people like resonated with him too. Like I never looked at Eddie and be like, wow, they're really making this guy be a stereotype or like a caricature.
Fuck
like,
no, and
it never came all the way. Everything came with Eddie. Everything always really came off as genuine,
without a doubt. And when you talk to him, he's like, backstage, like, oh, that's great. I'm studying for my GED. Let's fucking, and I'll do this. And it was never like, oh man, they want me to fucking, betray my thing. And you're saying that, it was none of that. It's just like, I fucking exploit it. It's fucking pro wrestling, for fuck's sake. Yes, the fucking ass, her ass is jiggling through the fucking bump. Right. Fuck. Right.
I mean, no, like I was like pleasantly shocked.
Sure.
You know what it is? Because they would never do that now. Like then
and even
like,
you're sneaky too because you enjoy the outrage. That's the other thing. Like, oh, I can't believe they did that. Oh.
This was a fun match. Essa Rios a little nervous. You could tell. Like this is the biggest spotlight he's had, and also what's interesting is the crowd is a little deflated from the last match. Like, obviously, what's going to top a table spot, like a woman going through a table? Like, it's hard to beat that.
Whoa, that's the most offensive thing I've ever heard you say. That's the most offensive thing I've ever heard you say. What's going to top a woman going through a table?
Look, the best thing I've ever seen is a woman being power bombed through a table.
Yeah.
What's going to top some potential domestic violence? No, but they work really hard. They do a few spots by the table, but they don't break the announce tables because that's saved for the main event. The whole thing is like Chyna's trying to stop Lita. By the way, Chyna's in a beautiful prom dress. I should have mentioned she showed up in a prom dress. Eddie showed up in a full tux because they came from prom. And then Eddie wrestled in pantsuits and a bow tie still on.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a really, really nice touch.
And, and as far as the crowd being down, which I don't disagree with, at a certain point, sometimes you get these like hot shows. It's just going to happen.
It's natural. Yeah. I just mean like that was such a high. They you have to rebuild the energy meter essentially of the crowd.
You built up, exploded, and now it's going to rebuild.
Yeah, and you can never, and it's always a mistake to try to build that in. You know what I mean? You just got to, because you never know what's going to go what and what's going to go wonky. So you're just like, everything is as good as you can make it. I'm talking in terms of booking. You can't be like, well, you do when you say like, let's not follow up this Gaga with that, or, you design it that way, but you can never be like, oh, that's going to be so hot, that'll be flat. You're hoping for everything to explode, but like, it's a good problem. You know what I mean? They're hoarse because they've been screaming.
And also, it's like, what a great match to get the crowd back. Like, these guys are really fun workers. At one point, Eddie Guerrero is on the top rope. Essa Rios does one jump to the top rope and does what is now called a Spanish fly. This move didn't exist back then, so it was just called an arm drag by Jim Ross. But I always find that fascinating when like these newer moves get used 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Lita kept
should have been a flying arm drag. That would have been good, right? That's a good name for that.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what he said. Yeah. It was just called the Spanish fly because the innovators of the move were the Spanish announce team. That was the name of the tag team.
When they actually weren't the Spanish announce team, they just spoke Spanish. Just
Eddie, so the finish sees Essa going to the top rope, and Chyna crotches him from the top rope, and then Eddie grabs Essa and does kind of like an airplane spin, a whirly bird, I guess, into a neck breaker and gets the win.
I thought that was sick.
That looked great. The finisher looked cool.
The airplane spin into a neck breaker. I was like, I don't think I ever see that.
Yeah.
Very, very fun finish. Immediately after, you could totally do it on, if you're wrestling a twink, you could get away with that. Lita attacks Chyna after the match, completely strips her down. Chyna's just in her bra and panties. Eddie, at first offended, is like, you know what? I kind of like it. and I like that Chyna as well. She's like very upset that like she's been like embarrassed, but then she's like, you know what? I look great.
Yeah.
So take a look, America.
At this time, she probably was, the magazine, I don't think was out yet. I think she was posing for Playboy like the previous week or this week, or I don't know exactly when, but it was obviously in the works. So that was and that was again a big deal back then. The magazine doesn't really even exist, but that was like still a huge iconic thing that was happening. Yeah. So that was a big deal. So pushing that
November 2000 it came out. So yeah, I could see that. And also like in a kind of a fucked up way, it was like there was such a curiosity factor about Chyna because like there were all these rumors that she was trans or like other hateful bullshit like that just because she's like a muscular woman. So it was like there was such curiosity there, I feel. But she looked phenomenal here. She looked incredible. And again, like watching this back, I feel like she really got such a bad deal because like she's hot. Like she's a hot woman. Like I don't like there's no asterisk here. Like she's a very attractive woman.
This is where I wrote down "Shut up, Jerry."
Shut up, Jerry. All right. Then we have Coachman interviewing Triple H and Stephanie. He says he's confident because he's the game and he's that damn good. Vince is there, and he said that his sources have told him that Stone Cold has some transportation problems and he won't even make it tonight. Great heat.
Now, is young Rob Pasbani saying like, of course he's going to make it. Why would Debra have been in the first segment?
Who brought Debra?
Yeah. That's what I was saying. Smart Mark Rob is like, no, he's definitely there. Debra's there. That can't be. He has to be there.
They took one quad. They took one ATV.
I guess you want me to think that. So I feel very had.
You had no doubt in your mind.
No doubt. Austin was coming. Absolutely. Especially because we saw him on SmackDown. Welcome to DC is Jericho. Chris Benoit, you hate that I call you Mr. Roboto. Well, Mr. Roboto, there's other expressionless, emotionless, deprogrammed drones, and they're called politicians. Lawler quips, Al Gore! And I'm going to do what every other Jerichoholic has dreamed of doing, and that's beat up a politician. Uh-oh. You can't say that anymore.
Oh.
Inciting violence against political figures.
And, drone, much different meaning now.
Yeah, that's true.
Drones. Oh, flying robotic things? No.
This was An excellent match. Like, right up there with the Malenko Scotty to Hotty match. This was a wrestling match. They wrestle.
No way you're not gonna. With Benoit, Jericho, like you know what you're you're gonna get. You're like, this is gonna be good. Benoit did look bored on his way down the ramp.
It's a good,
really good.
It's a good look for him, though. He's, like he's just.
Usually he looks scary. He looked bored.
The finish.
Well, he's always scary.
It shows Benoit doing the crippler crossface. Jericho gets to the ropes. Benoit tries again. Jericho rolls out, locks in the walls of Jericho. Benoit gets to the ropes. Jericho goes for flying elbow. Benoit ducks. He goes for like a flying forearm. Benoit ducks. We get a ref knockout. Benoit grabs the belt, tries to hit Jericho. Bing bam boom. The belt is right near Jericho as Benoit goes for a top rope headbutt. Goes for the headbutt. Jericho grabs the belt to hit Benoit. The ref wakes up, sees the belt shot, DQs Jericho. The camera totally missed the shot. So at first, JR's like, that's a bullshit call by the ref. But then when you show the replay, it's like, oh, wait, no, I see. Okay, no. So it was as a smart mark. I'm not a fan of the finish, but as another level of smart mark, I understand you didn't want anyone to take the pin. You want to keep the feud going. The match was so good, I wasn't even upset about the finish. That's my take.
I agree. Yeah. Hey, you always got to have a couple of those at a whole show.
And also, like this was, I think, the only DQ finish. Yeah. So at least you're being a little more like careful with it, or like disciplined. You're being more disciplined with the DQ.
Here's where I always get in that. It's odd. It's just an odd animal, pro wrestling. Because if you were to talk about anything, basketball game, whatever, your team, you go to root for it, there's always moments where you're like, well, that fucking went shitty and that sucked. Right. And that wasn't great. But you don't, you know what I mean? But when you critique wrestling, if everything were clean finishes, then, it wouldn't work.
If you're wrestling, you're allowed to have those screwy finishes and still this machine keeps running, Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So I don't know what point I'm even making. Other than just to antagonize clean finish smart marks that I have a love-hate relationship with. There, it's over.
It's main event time. Will Stone Cold be here? Triple H comes out with Vince and Stephanie. Triple H, his fake tanner is so intense, he looks like a burnt hot dog. He looks very, very very
Was
orange.
Steph women's champ too?
Yes, she won the women's title.
That threw me off.
It was kind of everyone interfered to help her win it. She didn't win
sure.
with her
I
talent.
was just very surprised.
It does lead to something cool where I believe she loses the title to Lita in a main event on Raw. So he did well with that. So Vince grabs the mic.
That's a good pro wrestling ethos that I always try to follow. Everything shitty can lead to something cool if you keep it in the storyline. If you can, you know what I mean. So anything that stinks or whatever, like let's keep it and twist it and then make amends in somehow of a storyline. Yeah,
right.
Because sometimes it's worse when it just like, which sometimes dudes just like, well, let's just move past it. No, let's shine a light on it.
So Vince says, as you know on your ticket, it says card subject to change. I regret to inform you Stone Cold Steve Austin will not be here tonight. Huge boos, immediate Austin chant. Then The Rock's music hits. Big pop for The Rock. Very big pop. JR absolutely disgusted that Shane is the ref. How could he possibly be objective? More, we want Austin chants. The whole match is just, there's not really a match. Vince interferes. He throws him into the post. Shane admonishes Triple H and then hugs him. They do a pin. Shane is counting quickly. There's a kick out. Austin chants. More heat. Vince hits The Rock with the title. Only a 2 count. Here's what my smart markness is like, why not just make it a 1 count? Why not just why even have the match? Call the match off. It's weird.
Why even have a show?
Vince is the authority. So who is he who is he cheating against? Did you understand the point I'm making?
Yeah, I do. But I would counter with this where he wants it to be happen under, within the fairness and the rules of, this.
But he's not being
this game.
fair though. Like they're cheating. They're changing the rules. So
Yes.
why not go to the extreme and just make it a 1 count? Or just call for the bell like with the Montreal.
Well, because then he understands he would look too bad, so he still wants to be like, it was
give him a shot.
It's for the shareholders.
It was done in a legitimate way, and he couldn't win that. You know
I'll
what I mean?
accept that.
So
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
look, back in the 70s when the American basketball team in the Olympics was undefeated, and the Russian came down and kind of manipulated it and put more time on the clock. I don't know if you remember this thing. Let's forget I even started bringing this one up. I just started talking, and it didn't work. My point is, forget that whole Russian thing. Point is, he doesn't want to just. Yeah. Well,
I think
it
you were
was
right.
like
I think what you were saying was right. The first part, you didn't even need the basketball.
Yeah,
right?
you're right.
I get what you were saying in that.
Then Rock finally gets a pinfall attempt, and Shane just refuses to count it. So the Rock stalks Shane, hits him with a punch. Shane falls out of the ring over the top rope. Great bump by Shane.
This is pop and leap.
Yeah, huge leap over the top rope, like he's eliminated from a battle royal. Really good. They end up fighting outside of the ring. They're on the top of the announce table. Triple H swings wildly for a punch. Rock ducks, setting him up in perfect position for a rock bottom on Triple H. Shane McMahon runs up like, no, you can't possibly do this. Rock grabs Shane as well. Double rock bottom.
Yeah.
That's about
I'm losing my voice.
Yeah. Woo! Double rock.
So cool. Such a great spot. Immediately cut to Vince, like shocked.
Yeah.
He's worried. Triple H rolled into the ring. Vince tries to attack the Rock. Rock no sells. Low blow by Triple H. Pedigree. Vince is calling for a new ref. Patterson and Brisco run down. Earlier they said they're back with Vince. And what's so funny is they get in there. They do the pin. There's a kick out. Now Brisco and Patterson attack the Rock. Patterson mounts the Rock and starts punching him. Meltzer notes, Patterson still has the best punches from Mount of any pro wrestler alive or dead. When Triple H got on Mount and started pounding, they weren't even in Patterson's league. Jim Ross is losing his shit. This is an assault. This is a mugging. This is not right. Crowd is now like, where the fuck is Austin? We want Austin already. And sure enough, as Vince wildly swings the chair at the Rock. It's like one of the worst chair shots you've ever seen, and like he trips over himself doing it. Austin's music hits. Huge pop. Crowd is going absolutely ape shit. It's exactly the reaction you want. He has a chair, hits everyone with a chair. Austin is looking very stiff, barely turning his neck. Like when he does the chair thing, he'll do the taunt where he like couldn't even do that. Like he was like, it was like that. It was, barely shaking his neck to do the taunt. I feel so bad for him. But the crowd is going nuts. The crowd is getting what they want.
And it wasn't even, I'm not sure, like a case of like, oh, I can't do it. It just was like, take it easy. Don't let the adrenaline fucking freak out and you'll fucking hurt. You know what I mean?
Right,
it wasn't exactly like,
I'm
coming back too soon and I'm being gingerly. It was more like, because you get out there and like, you can fuck yourself up. So I think, I don't think he was like, back too soon and painful or anything like that.
Just being cautious.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That
Like,
adrenaline.
Yeah, he didn't take any bumps, no stunners, because that's a bump
for
him. He has to fall on his tailbone. Very, very safe. Clears the ring. Everyone's out. So he's walking to the back. As he's walking, he crosses with Linda McMahon. She's there with Earl Hebner, who was just fired 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And she nods at approval, like she's totally fine with everything that Austin did. The crowd right now, by the way, is on their feet, losing their shit. Like this is huge. This is the biggest thing ever. Like the crowd is so excited. Austin. Yes. And JR is losing, like properly losing his shit. Stephanie tries to stop Linda. She gets shoved down. Crowd loves it. In the ring, spine buster, people's elbow. Crowd is just marking out. Like I wrote, crowd is in 1,000,000% mark out mode.
Oh, yeah.
People's elbow. Earl gets in the ring. 1, 2, 3. We have a new world champion. The Rock comes through on his guarantee to win the world title. This is what the match and finish of WrestleMania should have been. Like this whole thing. But we're here now. It's fine.
Right.
Like this is great.
And then you could argue, again, saying like the shittiness or whatever, however you want to phrase it, of WrestleMania and that
Disappointment.
led to this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
WrestleMania would have been this, but it's all. And this is now. I remember talking about this, talking about like Emerald Lagasse. I'm like, that's what this ending is. It's just like one of those ridiculous things. Like, and then we had more cheese, and then we had more, and then bam, and more garlic. Just give them what they want. And it's one of those deep fried. It's a cheeseburger on a donut, with hot sauce. Like, fuck yeah, it all worked.
And then the finish sees Stone Cold towing in the DX Express and then having a beer celebration with The Rock. Absolutely awesome pay-per-view. Pete, what did you think of this
one
match?
of the better ones.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I enjoyed it because I always liked McMahon shenanigans in that time. Because, like, it's been emulated. It's been tried to be done with, like, an authority thing so much. And it just, like, never worked. And this was, like, the time when it worked the best. And you love seeing, like, Vince get his comeuppance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
you
like,
can't,
I like
you
seeing
can't
Shane
top
get
them.
knocked around.
Well, and especially when it's the whole family unit all emanating from Vince. Yeah, the greatest of all time. The facials, just the floundering.
Yeah.
Like you just and the timing and the voice and just like fucking the whole checklist is like there'll never be an authority figure like that gets his comeuppance,
and just the built-in
more
history
enjoyable.
from the fans that knowing like this
the
is
history?
the guy.
Yeah.
It's real. It's just
Yeah,
like you can't you cannot replicate it. It's just like it's too much.
And I feel like enough of, like, the rest of the show was, like, I don't want to say clean, but, like, kind of contained. So it allowed this one to seem even more like the craziness and the
That's
Stone
true. There
Cold,
really
all the
weren't
coming
that
in.
many run-ins overall. Like, or if it was, I guess Chyna in the in the two matches prior, but
She was already there, though. She was already
she was there
ringside.
exactly.
Yeah.
There was no one. No, it was
So
great.
like allow it for this. It really gave more to it. Stone Cold, Brisco and Patterson, and then Linda.
Yeah,
And it was also one of those things where Austin's absence for so long built to this point, as you talk about like, oh, what would be a swerve? What would he do? And it's like, nope. He just comes in and cleans house with a chair and leaves.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, he can tow a thing in or whatever, but there's, don't mess with it. It's like it always reminded me the one Vince, sometimes people are talking about swerves and stuff. And he would always say, sometimes I'm in the mood for meat and potatoes, and I go to a restaurant that's famous for its meat and potatoes, and I order meat and potatoes. And you know what they bring? They don't bring me a goddamn swerve. They bring me meat and potatoes. His point being, like, sometimes you're like, nope, this is straightforward. Serve it up. Chair shots, title. Even though there was like, and it was what I loved about it so much. It was like tying up loose ends. That like we said are out there. Fucking Earl Hebner, Linda. It was like just a perfect thing that you can't just book because it's so reliant upon previous weeks. Coming together. And even like you said, like, oh, the WrestleMania should Rock have won, and that was flat, and people were disappointed. Turn that into an advantage once it happened and it's flat, and now give them later what they wanted. And just like, you just had so many things to work with that it's a moment you kind of knew. That was the sad thing about wrestling at the end of this fucking pay-per-view was like, oh, fuck, how do we build shit up now? What do we do next week? It's like, just enjoy it now.
You gotta reset.
Yeah, because you can't just reset, even though they're always like, reset. How can I reset the thing when Earl Hebner and this and Lynn, it all built up. And this was that moment where like, boom. And it was just, it might be my favorite. I like the Madison Square Garden one with all the street fight. And that Rumble was great. And in a different way, it just delivered on things. But as far as like storylines, weaving together, dovetailing, I think this may have been the best pay-per-view I ever worked on.
That's cool. Even Meltzer says sometimes the most obvious finish is the best finish for that very reason.
Yep, absolutely.
Because there was a note in the Observer for this week, and I don't want to lean too much heavy on this, but it's just fun to see where the wrestling.
Oh, don't tell me you're a Meltzer, Mark.
I am, but
clean finish, smart mark, and a Meltzer mark.
But allegedly, the finish to the match got out a few days before the pay-per-view on the internet. Not that it was the force that it is now.
Yeah.
And so there was a worry that because it got out, that like just to swerve the insiders, that you would go with something less obvious. But there was no need for it.
Yeah, well, that stuff always cracks me up because, like I always said, there's always rotating finishes. It's not like, okay, 4 days before I need the finish and we need to seal it in this envelope and give it to the accounting firm that does all the stuff for the Academy Awards and place it in the, someone took it and opened it and, the finish is out. Like, the fucking finish can fucking always change, so.
Yeah.
I'm not discounting that, but you know what I mean.
Right. No, of course.
A goofy heist movie. Someone steals the finish.
Yeah, they stole the finish.
Main event.
Yeah. The finish is out. Especially this,
briefcase handcuffed to a guy's fucking wrist.
Guess what?
Really
I've got secret information. The Rock goes over. Where did you find that?
No, the finish got out. Austin comes out and beats up the entire McMahon family. What? How did they come up with that?
He's got a chair.
Well, that's Backlash. It was very, very fun. Thank you for hanging out with us. And Pete, thank you for making the time to hang out with us. You can find Pete on Instagram. Metal Pete Comedy is the tag. We'll have it in our description. Pete, anything's promoted?
Metal Pete Comedy, who is a pro wrestler. Fuck. That's my kind of guy. That should be your new catchphrase. Your kind of guy. I'm going to give that to you.
Thank you. I'm going to be back in the Northeast doing shows around in Jersey, and then I'm going to be at the Barrison Street Fair in San Francisco the 17th and the 18th, and the Oakland Comedy Festival as well. It should be fun. So, do you like seeing me do comedy? You like seeing me deadlift? That's where I'll be doing both. Maybe wrestling too. Who knows?
That has nothing to do with Berenson Bears, does it?
No.
Berenson Bears Street Fest? All right. Just
I think so.
It was awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And of course, you could always send us your feedback, your questions, your criticism, tftattitudeera@gmail.com. And follow us on Instagram and Twitter and all that. And until next time, Tommy, any final words?
No. I said it all.
So we'll see you.
Yeah.
On
No
Tails!
post anything. Yeah.
From the